Where's Tony? We're supposed to be reviewing this movie together. Where's Tony? What the hell is Tony?
Who dares summon me?
I did.
Why did you summon me?
So we can review the movie together.
Oh, shit. That's right, bro. Hello there, everybody. This is 22 Tiger Dude here. I am here with
Mr. J.
And the both of us are going to be here to review The Mummy, the 2017 film. So, The Mummy 2017 is directed by Alex Kurtzman, who also directed People Like Us, and the film stars Tom Cruise, Annabelle Wallis, Russell Crowe, Sofia Boutella, and Jake Johnson. So, The Mummy tells the story of this ancient princess who has awakened, and it's now up to Tom Cruise and Annabelle Wallis to solve the mystery of this mummy. So, going into The Mummy, I personally didn't have too many expectations for this film. Like, it wasn't something I was necessarily dreading, but I wasn't necessarily like wowed by the trailers or even like interested in the trailer. So this is one of those films where, despite the fact I didn't have really too many expectations going for it, I just wanted to see how it would turn out. And this is supposed to kick off the Monster Cinematic Universe, because Dracula Untold, I know, was supposed to originally do that, but because that movie didn't necessarily work out for the studio, this is their way of actually restarting. And I would say, coming out of The Mummy, I think it's overall just an okay movie. I don't think it's good per se, but I don't think it's anything as horrible as the reviews are making out to be. I know the reviews for this film have been very negative. I don't think it's quite at that level. I think The Mummy, personally, is just an okay movie. How'd you feel about The Mummy coming out of it? Because I know you went to the screening with me for this film.
I was happy coming out because it's something I wanted to see, because I'm a huge monster movie fanatic.
Oh yeah, same here. And it was something different for Tom Cruise, like taking on a monster movie.
Yeah, compared to like most of the movies he's been doing.
So you're overall very positive with this film?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So to start off with my pros for The Mummy, Tom Cruise, I think, is really good in this film. He really does absolutely bring it in the action scenes. Obviously, action-wise, you know Tom Cruise is always going to bring it, but acting-wise, I think he's really good in this film too. I think he delivers the dialogue very nicely, and you could tell that he put a lot of his heart and passion into this film. He was a ton of fun. He had a great screen presence, and that's expected from someone like Tom Cruise, so I personally really liked him. I thought Annabelle Wallis was also pretty good in this film. You know, even though she does play like that damsel in distress really for a lot of the movie, for what she had to do in the film, I thought she was overall pretty good. Russell Crowe, I don't want to spoil the character he plays because it's a very major character. He was really great, not in this film that much, but he was really great for what he was given. I thought Russell Crowe did a very good job. And Sofia Boutella as the mummy herself, just like with Russell Crowe, not in this film that much, but I do feel like for what she had to deliver as the mummy, she did do a very good job. And I did think that, like, the design of her as the mummy, the fact that they made her a female, I thought that was a very interesting turn. Something else I have to also credit the film is for the action sequences, and Alex Kurtzman, who directed People Like Us, a film I really love. It's a very underrated film. If you haven't seen People Like Us by any chance, I do recommend checking that out. That was his directorial debut, and I love what he did with that film. And he does do a good job in some moments directing The Mummy. His standouts, I feel, are the action sequences. Anytime the movie has an action sequence, it is very well filmed. The action sequence I do have to talk about, especially though, is the entire plane sequence. Like, that entire plane sequence, I know that was very practical. I know it took a lot of takes for the crew to get right, and it really shows. It really shows in that plane sequence how hard they worked with that sequence, and because of the amount of practicality that went to that scene, you felt like you were inside that plane with these characters, and you know, as that plane's gonna crash down, you really feel the intensity for the Monster Cinematic Universe. Because you know, they're trying to set up a monster universe with this film. I did think that some of the setup, some of the mentions of like the other monsters we'll see in the future was honestly very cool. I did find myself intrigued, I found myself just interested, and I did like just some of the exploring of the monsters that we have yet to see. The cinematography in the film is very well shot. You could see very, very clearly of the film, like when the characters go out in locations. The cinematography is shot very beautifully. You could see everything very clearly. Even when the film is dark, like when the characters are out in the nighttime, it's still shot very professionally. You could see very clearly just throughout the film. It's a very good looking film. The score for this film also is very well done too. It definitely does bring the classic monster feel that I know this film is trying to bring, and I thought it was very well done for sure. And I also did like that when the movie focuses more on the monster aspects, it felt like a classic monster movie. Like I felt like I was watching a very old school monster movie, and some moments of the film whenever they would go into the more monster territory. And when they do attempt at humor, sometimes the humor did work for me.
Well, for mine, I think they did, like the actors did overall did like their best. They went with the script. They did like the maximum effort they could go for. I like how they like friend Tony here said like about they kept it like the old classic way, but at Top Row I think they kept it like added onto the modern age.
I think I know what you're saying. They're bringing something. They're trying to bring something old school and deliver it for the modern age.
Yeah, basically just think of like an old radio, an old TV radio, but they add a new modern age into it.
Yeah.
But like something like that to this movie. And they kept it interesting. All the main characters are really good, even especially for the woman who played the mummy. I think she did really 100%. It makes you think, what if there is a secret of society that they're trying to keep hidden with all these unknown creatures that we haven't seen or most people have seen, but they're trying to keep them hidden from the world that people from all around the world are not ready to see it. It makes you wonder. But I can tell you this, my point of view, I like the movie. The action scene, they did good. I think it was really intense.
Alright, so like I said, while I do have plenty of pros with this film, there are a lot of problems I did personally have with this film. And one of my problems, if not possibly the biggest problem I have with this film, is personally the tone. For me, I think this movie is so confusing because it wants to be a comedy movie in certain moments, but then other moments it wants to be this action movie, but then it wants to be very horror-esque and become this monster movie. And I just felt like there wasn't a balance. It was so all over the place. Because
it's like a little crazy mix-up with comedy, action-wise, and like a little romance into it. They kind of
and the romance too. It even tries to be a romance movie in some moments. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
They just kind of, I guess, kind of made a figure eight of all the genre into those situations.
Yeah, I just felt like they crammed in too much. Like you could tell that the writers had really good ideas because there's a lot of writers for this film, but you could tell that it just didn't mesh together as well as maybe the writers thought it did. Like there were definitely cool ideas, but I just felt like there was too much. And then speaking of the romance, I did feel like the romance between Tom Cruise and Annabelle Wallis, like both the actors are really good, but I felt like when the story tried to shoehorn in like this romance between them, it just didn't feel very natural. Like literally when Tom Cruise is talking to Annabelle Wallis, like from the opening scene, you know what I'm talking about. And literally the minute when he sees her, they talk about a little, like when he sleeps with her at a hotel, do we really need this? And then of course the whole movie focuses on their conflicts, on whether she still loves him despite what he did was wrong and all that. Like, you know, for a movie called The Mummy, you know, you want to focus more on the mummy stuff like that is not needed. And I definitely felt like it came out of nowhere for me personally. I did like it when the two of them worked together to try to solve the mystery of this mummy and what it could do to our world, but as far as them having romantic chemistry, it just didn't work for me.
I think it was an idea adding the romance, but I think the way they had the idea for it was a little minor flaw, the way they had it script into it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, it was good, like good idea with it. I think the way they had it, the process of the whole storyline didn't go well.
Yeah. Also, I felt like Jake Johnson, I really like Jake Johnson. I think he's a very funny guy. I really like him in New Girl. And of course, a few of movies I've seen him in. But in this movie, I just felt he was so out of place. You know, there's Tom Cruise, Annabelle Wallis, everyone else. They do fit in this movie. But whenever the movie cuts to Jake Johnson, he just didn't feel like he belonged in this movie. And most of the comic relief relied on him, and unfortunately I didn't think it worked. I wasn't really laughing. I just felt honestly awkward every time they attempted that comedy. Once in a while, like I said, the humor did work. I was laughing once in a while, but for the most part, when they attempt that comedy, it just felt very out of place. It felt very awkward, and I just didn't really think it came together for me. And Alex Kurtzman, while in some moments his direction was really strong for this film, I feel like because of how much was shoved into the script, his direction at times, not all the time, but at times, his direction came off as very messy. I would say mainly in the climax. As we are getting towards the end of the movie, that's where I felt like his direction was really going all over the place. And granted, there are some entertaining moments, like there are some moments in the third act where I was like, okay, that was entertaining, that was kind of well, but it was just so jumpy and all over the place that it was hard for me to get into the third act way more. I did feel like sometimes the visual effects were very noticeable in the film.
And my camera just cut off on me, but to add more to what I just said, the visuals, while there are times where I thought it looked really good in the film, I thought other times it looked really noticeable, and I thought it could have been more polished better. And my final flaw with the film is
the ending. I'm all like, what kind of ending was that? It felt so weird for me. But yeah, those are personally all of my flaws with the film. I know you already made a couple of your comments while I was commenting on mine.
Well, I think they could have improved with the romance-wise on it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the other part is, like, they should have add more, like, it's just in some of the scenes, somewhere in the middle, instead of showing body parts of unknown creatures they caught with labels, at least have a few full-on, still intact. There is possibility like they could come back alive, or they're still like having them in a deep sleep of those from those unknown creatures they have caught.
Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention, I thought the Mummy, even though I did like her for what the movie delivered, I thought they really underused her. I didn't think they focused on her as much as the movie should, considering the movie's called The Mummy. That's another one I forgot to add.
Yeah, they didn't add much of. They did add some storyline of her, but they should have added more full-on to the story to her.
Yeah, I think they could have explored her more.
Yeah, instead of, oh, she's evil because of the story of the parents of her had a kid, and she was just not just add that. It has to be furthermore.
So overall, The Mummy, I don't think it's a horrible movie like the reviews make it out to be, but I'm not going to deny there's a lot of problems. I am still curious to see where they could take the Monster Cinematic Universe. I really do want to see that happen. I do think the performances from everyone except for Jake Johnson, because he didn't feel like he belonged in this film, but I did feel like everyone did did do their part. I thought some of the directing was good, while other times it didn't always feel there. Sofia Boutella as the mummy, I wish that they focused so much more with this character, that they could have explored more with this character, and the direction that they did decide to take with her in the final act without spoiling anything. That was just a big really moment. You know, the movie did have potential, and there were moments where I was intrigued by the film, but other times there was so much going on in this film, especially in the third act, that by the time this movie ended, I'm kind of like, whew, I have to breathe, because that was like too much to take in. It's an entertaining enough movie, I'll say, so I'll go ahead and give The Mummy 2.5 out of 4 stars.
That's not bad. That's really fair for your point of view. I'll give it 3.5 out of 5.
Hey, that's really good. That's our review for The Mummy. Thank you, Mr. J, for reviewing this.
No problem.
And of course, you guys, comment down below and let us know, what did you think about The Mummy 2017, and does it make you look forward to the Monster Cinematic Universe, which can hopefully still happen. So you guys, this is 22 Tiger Dude here with
Mr. J.
And don't forget that the two of us will always have
Sweet potato pie and chicken pot pies.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Indeed.
But also, Mr. J, what do I also have?
Tiger power.
Tiger power!